What's going on, guys? This is Ness. You know how every family has that one relative that no one wants to talk about? You know, that one relative that just got out of prison and is on parole and no one wants to bring up during family gatherings? Well, that's what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about PS Vita and PSP's criminal cousin, the Subor MP5 GamePlayer. Now, I know at first glance this thing looks like a cheap PSP knockoff, and to a certain extent it is, but it definitely holds its own in the performance ability department. Let me go ahead and turn this thing on. Quite an enthusiastic intro. Right off the bat, I'll show you guys this thing has a touchscreen. Surprisingly, not a very good one. A poor quality Chinese touchscreen, but still touchscreen nonetheless. Its operating system looks very similar to like a phone's operating system, and all your various forms of media are present. I mean, you have videos, pictures, music, and you know, all that good stuff. Actually, videos, it plays any format video. I mean, right down to like 3GP. No more having to convert files, making sure that they're MP4 and whatnot. Pictures, same deal, any format. Music as well, any format. But I know what you guys really want to know. What kind of games does it play? Well, this particular model plays Game Boy Advance games, MAME, multiple arcade machine emulation games, SNES games, and some flash games that use the touchscreen, which are not very good at all. Now, this particular model plays PS1 games. That's right, guys, this thing is a portable PS1. So right off the bat, I mean, as you can see, the way the buttons are mapped and whatnot, it's very, very similar to a PSP. The thing actually has a camera. You can see that right there, built in, which I thought was pretty cool. It's not a very good quality camera, but it's still a camera nonetheless. So with that being said, I'm pretty sure you guys want to see this thing in action, want to see this thing perform. Well, we're on luck because the system came with a pair of AV cables to hook up to a TV display. So I'm gonna go ahead and rig this thing up and we'll take it for a test spin. This interface has a very ice cream sandwich like vibe to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and start out with a PS1 game. Start out with King of Fighters 98. Of course, it would be the Japanese version. So far, so good. Seems legit. Moving at a normal rate, moving at your expected PS1 rate. Gotta start out with my boy Terry. Buttons are pretty responsive, minus the D-pad. This D-pad is actually atrocious. Like, I can't get a single, like, I can't do the power wave. Yeah, this D-pad, it's pretty bad for fighting games. Not very good. Saving grace is that it actually has an analog stick. Analog stick is very responsive. that's enough of that. Show you guys a movie on this thing. Went ahead and put Dark Knight Returns animated movie on here. As you can see, it runs it pretty good. I mean, this output is not an HD component, but the video itself is HD quality. So, I mean, I got an HD video on here, and it's running it really smooth. Play a song real quick. It came with these 2 preloaded songs, but I went ahead and put this one on here, just, you know, for the sake of demonstration. Plays music like, you know, how a normal MP3 player would, what have you. You can actually navigate the menu while the music is playing. Stop that. So let's go ahead and see how an arcade game runs on here. It's doing its typical BIOS startup. Put in some coins. And this, it's pretty good. It's running pretty smooth. I'm liking this. Ah, my clothes. Now the D-pad works really good for this. You know, pretty straightforward game, so no real dynamic movement. Works fine. Ah, I hate this guy. Oh, the old ma. Well, that's enough of that. Let's go ahead and see how it runs SNES games. So Super Mario World. As you can see right off the bat, like I'm noticing some alterations in the music. So let's see how smooth it runs this thing. Once again, some alterations with the music, but other than that, the gameplay is pretty fluid. Yoshi. I always wondered why the hell Mario had to punch Yoshi in the back of the head to get him to stick his tongue out. If anyone has an answer for me. That's enough of that. Let's try out some Game Boy Advance.
Mario versus Donkey Kong.
I would consider this to be more of a high-end Game Boy Advance game, so let's see how this runs it.
Let's get going. Here we go.
It's pretty good. So far, so good. Running smooth. You know what's ironic, guys, is that like I've spent years like modding and putting different I guess hacks, if you would, onto my PSP, basically to turn it into what this thing already is, you know. I just find that to be very ironic. Go ahead and let's try a 3D PS1 game. See how that does it. Oh, right away you can see that there's a good amount of slow up. I guess we found one thing this thing doesn't do very well, and it's run the 3D PS1 games. I mean, it's still playable. It's definitely playable, but as you can see, it's running a little bit slower. So that's it, guys. This is the Subor MP5 GamePlayer. It's by no means a next generation handheld gaming system, but it does everything as advertised. I mean, it played everything, pretty well. As you can see, I had a couple issues with it. The button layout is kind of difficult. I mean, the D-pad is each button is mapped kind of individually, as opposed to like, a PSP or something. When you press down, this kind of goes along with it, making it easier to do special moves in fighting games. With this D-pad, it's practically impossible to play a fighting game, but to play, your more straightforward kind of SNES kind of games and most arcade machines that were CPS 1 and 2, it works fine. I'll have you guys know the system itself cost me a little bit over 30 bucks, and it cost me a little bit over 50 in total to have the thing shipped over to the United States. And there are similar systems out there that pretty much do the exact same thing, maybe even not to the extent this one does. I think this one outperforms them, and those other systems have a pretty hefty price tag on them, as you could see, basically making this thing pretty much a steal. So I'm pretty satisfied with this purchase, and it's definitely not something you see every day, so I thought I would share it with you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, this is Ness signing out.